Welcome back to Scissors and Scrubs. I'm Nicole.
I'm Laura.
Well, we have a lot of housekeeping first, Laura, before we dive
do?
in. We do.
Okay.
I want to apologize for our repeats last week.
Oh.
Because I was coming back from vacation. I was supposed to land at 12:30 in the evening, and I showed up at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I was exhausted, and then I had to deal with the dance competition. Any mother out there or father out there who's been to a dance competition knows the joy of a dance competition. So by the time that all wrapped up, there was no way I was recording, and I had only half written my second episode.
You didn't have weeks before your vacation.
I know. That's not the point. I couldn't even whip it out on the plane. Second, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We are recording on St. Patrick's Day. So I've been married to my husband for 2 decades. Mm-hmm. Never once has he ever said, "Did you pick up corned beef?" Never. Like, we've had 21 St. Patrick's Days and never made corned beef. Not my thing. I despise it. Not my thing. All right. I know there's a lot of people. It's my favorite. I don't like corned beef.
Mike.
Sorry, Mike. I hate
loves it.
All right. So I'm like, no, I didn't pick up corned beef. When do
you just pick up corned beef? That's like a whole plan.
I was at Market Basket and he's like, "Did you get the corned beef?" I'm like, "No." Like, no. So Vienna works at the dockside, so I called her. I'm like, "Is there anything? I'm assuming you guys have corned beef on the menu today." She's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Hit me up with some corned beef. I want the soda bread. Whatever you got, throw it in the bag." So I brought him home corned beef. Oh, and she threw a little surprise of shepherd's pie that the bartender made. It's fantastic.
No. See, I would rather have corned beef over shepherd's pie.
It's like, just give me a piece of shoe leather and stick it in a pot.
I mean, I can't eat either of them anymore, but I would pick
the shepherd. I'm not a shepherd's
pie
person to begin with, but I'm not going to lie, it was fantastic. And the soda bread, just
God,
loaded with butter.
I've eaten soda bread every day.
I was thinking of you when I was eating it. It was fantastic.
It's my favorite. Mm-hmm. I have my Shamrock Shake today. That's about
She's been eating soda bread for about 2 weeks.
It's my favorite. I love soda bread. And it's only out for like 2 weeks a year. So
I thoroughly enjoyed I was actually eating my death row meal tuna noodle casserole because I went out with my brother and my sister-in-law and Brian's bromance, Dennis. We all went out on Friday. It started with Brian's like, he's going to get his hair cut with the bar shop boy. I want to go for a drink afterwards. I'm like, all right. He wanted to hit the speakeasy in Salem. I said, we can't do that. We're doing that with the denizens. So
no, we
cannot go. We're doing, no, actually I was like, well, so I had done the estate sale that day, saw my brother, and he's like, have you been to that new, I'm going to call it a Viking place. It's really Asian. It's called Njord Haven.
Okay.
Not Nutty Nutson, Njord Haven.
Okay.
And it's a Nordic place. Oh. And I'm like, so I don't go.
Is it like smelt?
This is where I'm going. I'm like, I have no desire to eat pickled herring and smelts. Right. I'm good.
Right. What else do they eat?
Vikings, not my menu.
No.
It's all Asian fusion cuisine. It's all this.
That's weird.
So we go in, and it's, one of these shishi places. Mm-hmm. Of course, we got the, all right, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. You got the shishi couple behind us, right? She's like fucking decked out to the nines, like she's living out in Beacon Hill. Mm-hmm. And he literally looked like a dollar store Hitler. He had like the mustache, his hairs across his face. I was like, if he starts with me, dollar store Hitler's coming out of my mouth, okay? And they bring their little 18-month, 2-year-old to fucking dinner. No problem. No problem if you know how to parent your kid. Mm-hmm. But no, it's not a big place. We're walking around with trays of hot food, and they're letting her walk around the restaurant because they want to have a drink.
And it's at night.
I put my kids to bed at 7, got a babysitter, and had a wonderful time for myself. Not now, because my kids are in high school.
Anymore.
No!
They take their kids and dogs everywhere. Why are we taking kids and dogs?
A dog doesn't belong in a restaurant ever. It's disgusting. But if you want to take your kids, if you're that kind of parent that you have control, great. You don't let them run around the restaurant when they're serving hot fucking food, because the first moment soup ends up on the kid's head, you're suing the restaurant when she shouldn't have been running around the goddamn restaurant. Right. Okay. So anyway. So my brother wants to go to dinner at, Laura, what time does my brother want to go to dinner?
9?
Mm-mm.
Oh, early?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 5?
5:30.
Oh.
I said, my husband doesn't even get home from work till 5:30. I said, well, and he has a haircut at 5:30. I'll call you at 6:30. If you're around, we'll come down. So they're still awake at 6:30, and we go down.
Awake.
And we start, just going to have one drink. Just going to have one drink. Well, 4 drinks later, Laura, it was an ugly night. Waitress is like, you guys aren't driving. Now I had to walk home. Me and Brian had to walk home. This all ties into tuna noodle casserole eventually, okay? Dennis, he was you last year. He's getting the He's got the shoulders.
Yeah,
He's got the thing. Of course, he's sitting next to me. So I'm like, oh, Dennis. He's like, please don't hit my shoulder. I'm like, oh my God, sorry. He's loaded. Like, we had a great night.
Oh, God.
But I'm not a 4-drink girl at 50.
Mm-hmm.
So I go home to talk to Vienna, and I kind of lay in her bed, and the whole room's going, whoo, whoo. I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to be up for a little bit, Brian. I got to have some water. I got to have some brownies. Like, we got shit to do. But the food was fantastic. We ate the leftovers because they had finished dinner. He ordered churros drenched in hot fudge.
Churros? What kind of restaurant is this? This is very confusing.
So the you know how like the chef comes over?
Yeah.
Freaking guy comes over, right? He looks like he's really sweet and everything. Find out he's from South Boston.
Oh.
We're already the loudest table in there, right? I think the couple with the fucking 2-year-old left because we're like, fuck you! Fucking South Boston! We're going on and on and on. And they're like, take my little child away. They're saying naughty words. He was with us for like an hour. Like, dude, just pull up a chair. He's like, no, I gotta cook. I'm like, if that's the staff meal, I'm fucking working here, dude, because that smells fantastic. So he takes a sabbatical for a month, and he goes over to Asia or wherever, and he learns all these techniques. So he made these drunken noodles, and he lives in Quincy, huge Asian market. Yeah. So he gets these fresh noodles in the morning, and it was spicy Thai. They were delicious. And my brother's like, oh, we eat here all the time. Pickiest man in the world. Yeah. We eat here all the time. And he's like, it was pricey though. So the bill comes. I'm 4 drinks in. I throw a 20 down. I'm pretty sure the bill was $400.
You threw a 20
down. I threw 20
You had 4 drinks and you never mind the food.
I threw a 20 in a debit card down. No, I did think. She's like, no. Because I think they're like, what the fuck? So at 2 a.m, I'm Venmoing her $200. I'm like, okay, so at some point I sobered up enough to realize, because I sent her 100. I'm like, well, that wasn't enough because he had 4, I had 4. They were probably $14, $15 a piece. Yeah. Sent her another 100. I'm like, hopefully that covers it. I don't even know if Dennis gave you money because they're like, oh, carry us next time. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was a fucking $400 bill or higher. So I'm slightly hungover the next morning and I have to go to the estate sale by, 8:30. Another thing I think we need to discuss is McDonald's needs to be open on Saturday and Sunday mornings, serving breakfast at like 9 or 10 o'clock. They should not start serving breakfast at 11 on the weekends because you need McDonald's to get over a hangover. It's like in the book.
Yeah, but you just have McDonald's like hamburger.
No, I wanted it they won't serve it till 11:30. I needed it at like 10.
Oh.
All right.
I see what you're saying.
You know
it was only breakfast.
It was only breakfast. I needed it. So we came home that night. Garrett's doing his competition thing. Vienna's out partying, whatever the fuck she was doing. I said, Brian, because we're the only 2 in the house that eat. I'm like, tuna casserole tonight? Ugh. He's like, deal. I said, I'll put in 2 cans because I know how you like your protein. Dude, I made a casserole. The 2 of us, it was like this much. Oh my God.
I don't think tuna casserole is what I've eaten if I was hungover.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Oh my God.
My favorite food in the world. So we ate a lot of tuna casserole, and then I was finishing up today while he was eating his corned beef. Tied that whole story in.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Oh my God.
And the last bit of housekeeping, last thing, Laura forced me to read this fucking book.
I just told you it was really good.
You told me I had to read it. She forced me to. Said she wouldn't speak to me until I read it. That's what she said.
What happened to?
What a great book.
It's
I haven't finished it yet.
You're welcome.
I can see where this is going because we're talking about the Hanoi Hilton. Either her brother or Rye is in that Hilton. Somebody's in there. That's going to come down at the end of the book. It's happening. You know it is. But a year ago, remember that woman sent us the book that she wrote, and she was a Vietnam nurse. This is very similar to it in what she went through. And it's shocking to me, and I don't know why, what these women went through. Not the combat. When they came back, she couldn't get a fucking job because she didn't have any experience. The PTSD, when she walked in and the guy's like, are you menstruating? I wanted to reach in the book and strangle that guy.
Yeah. Or like when she would go to the VA for help and they'd be like, there were no women in VA. Hi, are you morons? Like, what are you talking about?
Who do you think was taking care of them?
Right.
Who do you think? So it's very frustrating to read. Like I said, I had to take a break from it because I had a bunch of shit this weekend, but I'm hoping to get back to it tonight and finish it. It's excellent. It's very, very good. But
so good.
It's sad like I knew it would be.
Yeah.
Because she writes all shit like that, which is why I didn't want to read it.
It's so good.
It haunted me, so I didn't sleep all night.
Oh, God. No, it's not that sad.
Haunted me.
I mean, it's sad, but it's...
So if you have a spare day or two, read it, because it is
The Women excellent. By Kristen Hanna.
And I think as hokey as this sounds, it made me proud to be a nurse.
Yeah.
It made me proud of what we do. Yeah. So I think if nursing is a career you're thinking about, read it, because even with all the shit she went through, she was like, nursing's what got me through.
Right.
she always went back to nursing because it gave her a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
So it made me kind of proud of what we do.
So I'm going to wrap this story into that, even though it has nothing to do with the women or Chris and Hannah or Vietnam. But it does have to do with San Diego. So the woman in this book is from Coronado. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Because like she would mention things. And I'm like, oh, that's like where Jack is.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I go into work. And I'm sitting there last night and I get an email and it says from Airbnb. And it says, Joseph rated your stay. Because I got an Airbnb when we went to San Diego a few weeks ago to see Jack. And I had to leave because it was stunk and it was dirty and it was gross.
We need
to
talk about this.
I had to get, I'm telling you right now.
All right, I'm all ears.
So I emailed him. I was like, we cannot stay here. It's dirty. It smells awful. Like, I can't imagine what the beds are like.
Cigarette smoke? Or?
No, it was like someone cooked fish and then put it in a cabinet somewhere and let it sit there. Ugh! Like, Jack walked in and said, it stinks in here. And Jack, you know, he's a 19-year-old boy. Like, I immediately was like, we can't stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I get a hotel room. I didn't ask for full refund because I'm like, I get it. I came here. I took your weekend. Like, can I have some sort of a refund? Right. I cannot stay here. We had to send him pictures. He's like, the garbage can had like so much shit on the top of the lid. It was like black, nasty shit with like this reddish thing in the middle. He's like, I think that's rust. I'm like, it's not rust. It's dirt. It's filthy dirt. And then the bathroom door, it was like a white door and it was like blackened. Like from like it was dirty.
That's
the
gross.
Sink had dust in it. Like it was dirty. And then the smell alone, it was gross. So in the treads and the stairs, like the crack before the stair, like it all had dirt in it. Yeah. I was like, this is dirty. I can't sleep in beds here. I can't even sit here. So whatever. He gave me a partial refund. Fine. Of course, my mother's like, you need a full. I'm like, no, I took up the weekend. I get that. I'm not begrudging this guy. This is his livelihood. Like that's fine. I'm being real nice. And I didn't put a review up. I didn't put any review whatsoever. If he had given me a hard time, like, no, I might have been like, listen, I don't want to put a review, but I will if I have to. But he gave me the money, like, whatever. Never put a review up, anything. So I get this email that I got a review.
Uh-oh.
He reviews me and says she had a bunch of, oh my God, what's the word now? I'm not going to think of it. A bunch of, like, fluff complaints and canceled her stay. So now other owners can like see that and say, oh, I don't want her to stay here.
Right.
I am irate because I did not.
I would. Can you respond and be like, I did. Here's my fluff complaints.
No. So I was very, because it's the owners who see this. It's not like other people. So what did I write back? I wrote like, yes, I did cancel my stay after we checked in and saw that the accommodations were not as they were represented online. And I said, and I did not, I've never had to do this at an Airbnb before. And they said, and I did not leave you a review because I didn't want to hurt your livelihood. I wish you success. But I'm like,
you are nicer than I would have been. I'm like, here's my fluff complaints, you filthy fucking apartment.
If people see, the other owners, like, I don't, like, I want them to know, like, I didn't leave you a bad review. I didn't.
You're still not.
Like, but I was like, are you
people
serious?
Are assholes, yeah.
I couldn't. So then I went through, now I'm psycho and I'm boiling. So now I go through every review of every property he has. So I'm reading every one. One of them, like way down, which I didn't, I read the first few and it was like 4, it was high star rating, whatever. One way down was like, we walked in and it smelled terrible. And I'm like, this motherfucker.
Hasn't done anything to it.
And then other people like, wasn't clean, wasn't really up to my cleanliness standard. But then there's other people who are like, great place, so clean. I'm like, what are your houses like if you think this place
they just strolled out of a trailer somewhere where they have 15 dogs and 82 cats.
And I was like, oh my God. But every time someone wrote something like not great, and they weren't even really mean about it, he would be like, well, if you had read the direct, like he was such an ass. I was like, oh my God, this guy's such a jerk. I just want to. So Joseph, you're lucky I didn't write a bad review.
And your goddamn Airbnb.
God almighty. Anyways, it reminded me of the Coronado.
Which was in the book.
Yeah.
The women.
Yeah.
It all tied in. Yeah. Boom. Tuna noodle casserole. The women take that away from this episode.
I was irate.
Yes, I would be furious. But like I said, it's a hothead in me. Man, I'd be like, whoa, you motherfucker. Here's your fluff.
Yeah, but
here's your filthy. It smells
I was
like
just like, nope, they're going to see that I'm not like some, insane person. Even though I was like, it was a big F you.
Yeah.
I wish you success in the future.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Good luck renting that stanky ass apartment. Smells like low tide.
And what's wrong with these people that stay there and think it's clean?
Because everybody's got a different sense of cleanliness, Laura.
There's No.
Everybody's got a different sense
No
of
one
cleanliness.
could walk into
Sorry.
this place and say
I've
it's
gone
clean.
into some places where, I just cleaned. I'm like, really? Really?
And so he was like, well, you can't check until 3 because of the cleaners.
Well, where are the cleaners?
What fucking cleaners? What did they clean?
Who are you paying? Are they blind?
Yeah, do they have no
Being
sense of
nice?
smell?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Do they have a brain tumor? I don't know.
okay, so I think we're 20 minutes into
Yeah,
this
okay.
episode and have discussed nothing that we're talking
No.
about.
Nothing.
But we're talking about this week, drum roll please, multiple sclerosis and muscular dystrophy.
Yes.
Bum, 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 which I could never tell apart the two when I was a child. I was like MS, MD, and what?
Yeah, it's the same thing,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
And when we were researching, I started researching MS halfway
She's
through
like,
MD.
oh, so-and-so has. I'm like, they have MS.
Why-
They have
she's like,
muscular dystrophy.
Why are you looking at multiple sclerosis? I'm like, oh, no. Oh, yeah. Like, yeah. So I still am clearly getting
So
them
obviously
confused.
confused. This is why we need to do this episode.
Yeah, so the next 2 episodes, we're getting back to some nursing shite.
Yes.
Talking nursing all the time.
Like we're supposed to.
Last housekeeping thing. Last
boy.
thing. We're going to get ourselves back on Instagram Reels. We're going to do some shit. Give us some ideas of things you'd like to see us do.
Okay.
All right. I think we're pretty funny. And I still get weird looks in the hall when people recognize us. So we're coming back because it brought a lot of people to the podcast. So I think we need to start getting back on that shite.
Okay.
All right. We're going to get down to basics now. Nursing 101. Anatomy, physiology, diseases. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
doing, who's going first? I forgot. You and me.
Okay, want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm doing multiple sclerosis. I hope you didn't do the same
I have
information.
muscular dystrophy, but doesn't mean that's the facts you're going to get. They may coincide because I may
Like
have
all of a sudden going-
written your podcast by accident.
I got this from everydayhealth.com and the National MS Society. So multiple sclerosis, or I'm just going to say MS from now on.
It's going to be harder and harder.
There's a lot of words in here that are just going to... MS is an immune-mediated disease. This means that an abnormal response of the body's immune system causes the disease. In MS, the immune system attacks the central nervous system by mistake. The central nervous system, or CNS, is made up of the brain, spinal cord, and the optic nerve.
I love how that's separate. It's so random.
This attack damages the myelin, which is the fatty substance that surrounds and insulates nerve fibers.
Myelin sheath or
Yeah,
just the
so the myelin.
Mhm.
But it's the stuff that's around your nerve fibers that kind of buffers it from everything else. Without myelin, the nerve fibers become damaged.
Mhm.
When myelin or nerve fibers are damaged in MS, messages within the CNS are altered or stopped completely.
Ooh.
So once that myelin's damaged, the nerve fiber gets damaged, your messages from your brain down through your spinal cord are not getting through. It is believed to be an autoimmune disease, but no specific like gene
They
has
can't
been
link it to anything.
they can't link it to a specific gene. Damage to areas of the CNS produce a variety of neurological symptoms that will vary in patients with MS in type and severity. So no, people's MS does not look the same. The damaged areas develop scar tissue. The scar tissue is what gives MS its name.
The sclerosis.
It's multiple areas of scarring or multiple sclerosis.
Right.
So it sounds like some...
That makes sense.
Right, but you know, like it sounds like, ooh, I don't know what that means. It's just,
Very-
it's
no.
multiple areas of
Yeah,
scarring.
scarring.
That's all it is.
That makes sense.
Anyone can develop MS, but there are some patterns. Like 3 times as many women have as MS
Interesting.
as men. It occurs in most ethnic groups, but it used to be believed that MS mostly affected white people of European descent. However, new research has found that MS rates in Black Americans is consistent with the rate of MS in white Americans. Doctors are also seeing an increase in rates of MS in the Hispanic community. Studies suggest that genetic factors increase the risk of developing MS, but there is no evidence it is directly inherited. So you might have you might have MS and someone in your family might have MS, but it is not directly
Doesn't mean you're going to get
inherited. Environmental factors like low vitamin D and cigarette smoke also
I think they've linked that to like 800 diseases.
you
don't have vitamin D, so that's why you're dying.
but the low vitamin D and cigarette smoke also shown to increase MS. Smoking can cause more rapid development in severe disease.
Interesting.
Stop smoking.
For many reasons.
This is weird. It often occurs like further from the equator. So the farther you are from the equator, the more likely it is.
How do I know that, Laura? Because that was part of the research I was doing that you were supposed to be doing. That's my crossover research.
Yeah, so the further you are
that was really
from the equator, the more likely you are to develop MS.
That vitamin D link.
But yep, the sun is stronger at the equator. You get more vitamin D at the equator. So the further you are away, the less vitamin D you are getting. Obesity, especially in girls in childhood and adolescent, increases later risk of MS. Obesity may also contribute to inflammation and more MS activity in those that are already diagnosed. So
so if you have it,
should stay in a healthy weight. Epstein-Barr virus, the one that causes mono, has been found to contribute to the risk of developing MS. And again, it is not inherited, but there is a genetic risk. In the general population, the risk of developing MS is 1 in 334 people.
That's kind of high.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, that's a lot.
That's kind of high.
In identical twins, if one twin has it, the other twin's risk is 1 in 4.
Oof.
Even though it isn't genetic, it's so bizarre. It also increases when other first-degree relatives have MS, but it's not as high as with identical twins. There was a 2019 prevalence study that found 1 million people living in the U.S. have MS. That is more than 2 times the number of cases in 1975. Wow. And they don't know if it's just diagnosed more now.
Is there any stress linked to it?
It doesn't say that. But I mean, probably. Yeah. Worldwide, 2.8 million people have an MS diagnosis. The CDC received federal funding to implement a neurological disease surveillance system, which will let them learn more about MS. So they're really trying to figure out what causes this, how we can stop this, how we can treat it. So MS has 4 basic disease courses. That's what they call them. I'm going to go into
Getting
it not
their courses
way like in depth.
Yeah, some of the stuff, like, just remember, guys, we're doing brief overviews. It's too dry to really get deep in some of this stuff.
The first course is clinically isolated syndrome, or CIS. This refers to a first episode of neurologic symptoms caused by inflammation and demyelination in the CNS. Symptoms vary, but commonly include vision problems, vertigo, loss of sensation to the face, weakness in the limbs, with one side more affected with the other, difficulty with speech, swallowing, walking, balance and coordination, and bladder problems. And to meet the definition of CIS, the episode must last at least 24 hours. So if you just have this for 4 hours, they're not going to call this a CIS.
That's just being drunk.
Yeah. A person with CIS has a high likelihood of a second episode of neurologic symptoms and a diagnosis of relapsing remitting MS. If an MRI shows brain lesions that are similar to those seen in MS without those lesions, they are far less likely to be diagnosed with MS. People with CIS who are considered high risk for MS may be treated with a disease-modifying therapy. So if you were diagnosed with CIS and they're like, you get some lesions, they're going to treat you with MS medications. The second course is relapsing remitting MS. This is characterized by clearly defined attacks of new or increasing neurologic symptoms. These attacks are followed by periods of partial or complete recovery or remission. This is the most common disease course. These attacks are also called relapses or exacerbations. So you'll hear someone with MS be like, oh, I just had a relapse. Right. This is this disease course.
Right.
Attacks are followed by periods of partial or complete recovery or remission. In remission, all symptoms may disappear, or some symptoms may continue and become permanent. But during remission, the disease does not seem to progress. So you're either going to stay at baseline or you're going to be better.
But you're never going to get worse.
You're not going to get worse in remission.
All right.
RRMS can be characterized as active, and that's with relapses or new MRI activity, or not active and worsening, which is a confirmed increase in the disability following a relapse. So you have a relapse and then all of a sudden your baseline is worse, or not worsening. About 85% of people with MS are initially diagnosed in the RRMS course. The third course is secondary progressive MS, which is SPMS. It follows RRMS in some people and is characterized by a more progressive course with or without relapses or new lesions on MRIs. So people who have the RRMS course can then go into secondary progressive. It can be active with relapses or evidence of new MRI activity, or non-active, or worsening or non-worsening. So they can characterize it several different ways. Neurological function worsens and progressively the disability accumulates over time, and it follows the RRMS course. So you're just getting progressively worse in this course. If you stay in the other one,
you get
it just kind of stays the same. This one, you get progressively worse. The fourth one is primary progressive MS, which is PPMS. It's characterized by gradual but steady progression of disability from the onset of symptoms with few or no relapses or remissions. So you're just getting a steady progression of the disease in this one.
That's tough.
Yeah. With PPMS, neurological function worsens or the disability accumulates as soon as symptoms appear. It can also be characterized by active or non-active, as well as progressive or without progression. Approximately 15% of people with MS are diagnosed with PPMS. Oof. This is a standalone course. Like the other three kind of follow each other. This one, when you're diagnosed with this is the only course you're going through. Radiologically isolated syndrome, or RIS, is not an MS course. It is used to classify those with 1, lesions on the brain or spinal cord consistent with MS lesions, and 2, no past or current neurological symptoms. So these people have lesions on their brain or spinal cord on MRI, which usually they find like they're having, they go in for an MRI for some other reason. Mm-hmm. I'm having bad neck pain, whatever reason you have to get an MRI. They're like, oh, you have spots on your brain. You have lesions on your brain.
Yeah.
You have lesions. It's not MS, but it's this radiologically isolated syndrome. And they don't have any neurological symptoms. More than half of those diagnosed with RIS go on to develop MS within 10 years. There's no specific treatment, but there is a ton of research going into the RIS.
It's weird.
Yeah. Symptoms of MS.
Uh-oh.
Again,
Here they come.
They vary greatly and everybody's different. They can disappear completely, or they can persist and worsen over time. Everybody's course is different. Yeah. It's whichever course you're in, but even in that, everyone's different. But common symptoms are depression and emotional changes, fatigue, MS hug, which is like a squeezing sensation around the torso that feels like a tightening blood pressure cuff.
Weird, huh?
I remember that. I was like, oh my God, I remember that from nursing school.
I don't remember
it feels
that at
like
all.
there's a blood pressure cuff around your torso. Numbness or tingling of the face, body, or extremities, pain and itching, problems with memory or concentration, spasticity, vision problems, including optic neuritis, blurred vision, poor contrast or color vision, and pain with eye movement. Walking difficulties and weakness are all symptoms, common symptoms of MS. The common first signs of MS, even though they vary, the most common symptoms that lead many people to first seek help is optic nerve inflammation, which causes blurred vision and pain with eye movement and a headache.
That would hurt.
Yeah. Spinal cord inflammation, which causes numbness and weakness in the arms, legs, or trunk, bladder and bowel problems, and difficulty walking. Those are like the most common. I gotta go see somebody. MS is difficult to diagnose, and early MS symptoms may be non-specific and suggestive of like several other nervous system disorders. People ignore early symptoms that come and go. Like, oh, my eye hurt when I moved it yesterday.
Yeah, but now it's
fine. Not hurting now, so you ignore it for a while.
Like I ignore shit for years.
I ignore everything.
I'm fine. I can't walk, but I'm fine.
There's no single lab test for diagnosis. They will do an MRI, and sometimes they'll do a spinal fluid analysis, and that greatly helps to diagnose them, even though there's no specific test to diagnose it. That's how they're going to be like, you have lesions. This is how your
sclerosis on your spots.
MS onset most often occurs between the ages of 20 and 40. Ooh. I think we're clear.
God knows I am.
The majority of people with MS do not develop severe disability, which is excellent. I think people hear MS and
they think it's a death sentence.
They're not going to move. They're not going to walk. Yeah. 2/3 of people with MS remain able to walk, but some will use assistive devices like cane, crutches, whatever. The life expectancy of people with MS is about 7 years less than the general population.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, because of complications or other medical conditions. If you're not moving a lot,
Right.
you just get more, you're just more prone to other.
Well, it's not the death sentence I thought it was.
No, it's only 7 years less than. Many of these complications are preventable, though. Attention to overall health and wellness can reduce the risk of other medical conditions such as heart attack, stroke. Again, they said like if you're overweight, it worsens the symptoms of MS, and that can also, you can't move as well, and now you can have a heart attack, you can have a stroke.
Exactly.
So if you can keep yourself healthy overall, you can prevent these other medical conditions, which will give you a prolonged life. There are very rare circumstances where MS progresses extremely rapidly and can be fatal. It's very rare. It's not like they don't know, like, oh, when you diagnose, like, oh, you're going to have that really rapid one. It's just a very rare.
It's not the rapid one. It's more of an annoyance than it is.
I mean, it's tough on their lives, and they have all these exacerbations, and you feel like crap, and it's painful, and but
they can survive it.
You can survive it. It's just a 7-year, the life expectancy.
So instead of 90, I make it to 82 or 83.
I think like life expectancy like 72 these days.
All right. Well, it keeps my family, less. Laura. We've talked about this.
Yeah, we know.
Okay.
But that's MS in a nutshell.
So
I have 13 celebrities who have multiple sclerosis. We've heard a lot
Montel Williams.
Montel Williams is one. I guess I'll start with him. The former talk show host Montel Williams went public with his MS diagnosis in 1999. He says, when the neurologist said those words, "You have MS," it hit me like a brick. I thought the diagnosis was a death sentence. But Williams turned that fear into a foundation, which he started in 2000 to advance MS research. During its years of operation, it distributed more than $1.5 million in grants. Williams has talked openly about using medical marijuana as an alternative to ease the pain caused by MS, and he advocates for its legalization. In 2016, Williams started a medical cannabis company called, I don't even know how to say that, Lenitive Labs. Lenitive Labs? I'm not sure.
Oh, Montel. He was a Marine?
Yes, that's right. I forgot that. I used to love him.
I did too. I loved his show.
Yeah.
He was no bullshit.
Huh?
He was no bullshit.
No, I loved him. Emma Caulfield Ford.
I don't know who that is.
She's best known for her role as Anya on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Never saw it.
And more recently, Dottie on WandaVision.
Never saw that.
He used to watch WandaVision. Emma Caulfield, 49, announced in October 2022 that she's been living with MS for more than a decade, but had kept her diagnosis secret from all but a few close family and friends. She decided to go public at last because she, quote, said, "I'm so tired of not being honest. Having a 6-year-old daughter from whom she didn't want to hide the disease also influenced her decision, as did her concern that trying to hide it from her colleagues while working in the heat of a Los Angeles summer could potentially worsen her condition."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Her first symptoms of MS, which occurred in 2010, she says, "I woke up one morning and the left side of my face felt like there were a million ants crawling on it."
Ooh,
so that's like that one of those first signs, that tingling in your face. Yep. Her father, Rodney Chucker, also had MS.
Excuse me.
I just thought these were funny because it's like the symptoms, like it's exactly what the thing says for everybody. Christina Applegate.
Yeah, she's having a rough time.
Yeah, she does not look well. Rose to fame as a teenager when she played the role of Kelly Bundy on Married with Children. She's also known for her roles in the TV series Samantha Who and Up All Night.
I love her.
And she has won and been nominated for multiple awards throughout her career, including Primetime Emmy, Golden Globe, and Tony Awards. In August 2021, when she was 49, the star and executive producer of Netflix Dead to Me announced on Twitter that she had been diagnosed with MS a few months prior. She said living with the disease has been a strange journey and a tough road, but that she feels supported by other members of the MS community.
She's got it bad.
She seems to have progressed rapidly.
Yeah.
She walks with
her
a cane.
Selma Blair.
Selma Blair looks okay, though, but...
Yeah, but she has these flare-ups and she can't move.
She does, yes. But Christina Applegate seems to be like...
Yeah, she's rough.
She's with the cane all the time. She's very swollen. I don't know if she's on, steroids.
Prednisone or something, yeah.
Selma Blair is another one. She announced in October 2018 at the age of 46 that she had been diagnosed with MS the previous August. I guess I'm not out of the woods. Blair, who starred as Hopper Glass in the 2019 series Another Life, made her announcement on Instagram stating, "Biggest thanks to Elizabeth Berkley, who forced me to see her brother, Dr. Jason Berkeley, who gave me the diagnosis after finding lesions on the MRI. I have had symptoms for years, but was never taken seriously until I fell down in front of him trying to sort out what I thought was a pinched nerve. I have probably had this incurable disease for 15 years at least.
Oh, wow.
And I am relieved to at least know and share. So she hasn't...
Yeah, because
she's
you saw
slower.
her in
She's
Dancing
had
with the
it so long.
Stars, and she was not doing well.
Blair described some of the symptoms she's been experiencing and the help she's received on set as follows. Quote, the brilliant costumer, Allison Swanson, not only designs the pieces Harper Glass will wear on this new Netflix show, but she carefully gets my legs in my pants, pulls my tops over my head, buttons my coats, and offers her shoulder to steady myself. I have multiple sclerosis. I am in an exacerbation. By the grace of the Lord and willpower and the understanding producers at Netflix, I have a job, a wonderful job. I am disabled. I fall sometimes. I drop things. My memory is foggy. And my left side is asking for directions from a broken GPS. But we are doing it. So she has, all the classic symptoms. Jack Osborne.
Oh, yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne's son. Also has it. He announced in June 2012 that he had been diagnosed with MS. He said the timing was so bad. He had just had a baby. He was working. It was going great. And he thought, why now? He was diagnosed when he lost sight in his right eye. Oof. Yep. That's what alerted him to the problem. Yeah, he seems like he's got a normal head on his shoulders.
I mean, when your father's Aussie, it's anything's relative, right?
Janice Dean, I guess she's sometimes known as Janice Dean, the weather machine, is a senior meteorologist at Fox News
that's
Network.
who it is. That's right. How could I have forgotten? Yeah.
And a co-host of Fox and Friends. She was diagnosed with MS in 2005 and went public with her diagnosis in 2008. She described her first symptoms as exhaustion and numbness on the bottoms of her feet and on her thighs. MRI scans showed lesions in her brain and spine, which confirmed that she had MS. Dean sought the advice of Fox News colleague Neil Cavuto, who also has MS.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And who assured her she'd get through it.
He has the worst voice, but I like him.
I don't know him.
Because you don't watch Fox News.
I don't really watch. I don't watch any news. I'll watch local news. That's it. Ann Romney, the wife of former Republican presidential candidate and current Senator Mitt Romney, was diagnosed with MS in 1998 at the age of 49. Everybody's 49.
Yeah,
This
so I guess we're not clear. Laura, that's only 3 years ahead of me.
She openly discussed her struggle with the disease of on the 2012 campaign trail. Romney told correspondent Robert Roberts that she was diagnosed after experiencing severe numbness and fatigue. And when she got the news, she felt humbled and crushed. Since then, she discovered a passion for horses and believes horseback riding is important therapy for MS. She also described how reflexology combined with breathing exercises and yoga poses helped to relieve her fatigue.
I think that would be huge.
And improve her balance.
Yeah.
Romney in 2014 launched the Ann Romney Center for Neurologic Diseases.
Of course he did, because he's got $1 bazillion.
For which she serves as a global ambassador at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. The center supports research on a variety of neurologic conditions, including MS. Singer Walter Williams, 77, a founding member of the R&B group OJs, first experienced symptoms of
the OJs.
MS while on tour with the band in 1983. He initially attributed the numbness in his toes to his new shoes, but then it spread to his foot and leg, and he knew there was a problem.
And the shoes weren't on.
Yeah. He said, I probably stopped in every hospital in every city trying to figure out what was going on. Within 2 months, he was diagnosed with MS, but he kept it private for nearly 3 decades, even as he struggled to perform the spins and turns that characterize the OJ's onstage choreography. Early on, Williams turned to exercise and eating right to strengthen his body and fight back against MS. He said, what aggravated it was heat, so I took cold showers and had a bucket of ice on stage that I could put on my head. He takes the drug Avonex, which he started in 1999. He said that's keeping him relapse-free. And there's so many. Terry Garr.
Oh, yeah, I loved her.
I know. I was like,
she was the wife of Mr. Mom.
Yeah. At the height of her career in 1983 is when she was first diagnosed with MS during a jog in New York City's Central Park.
She was in Young Frankenstein, too, I think.
Yeah. She inexplicably tripped and felt a stabbing pain in her arm. After years of doctor visits without a diagnosis, Garr finally found out that she was what was ailing her in 1999.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost 13 years later? Longer.
16 years later. Garr started her career in show business as a dancer, appearing in 6 Elvis Presley movies.
Oh, watch out.
Yep. And she was in Young Frankenstein and Tootsie.
Oh, that's right. Tootsie.
Guy went
love her.
public in 2002 about having MS and became an ambassador for the National MS Society. Guy says that in addition to a healthy diet, exercise, and a good sense of humor, she takes a disease-modifying drug to keep the disease in check. Like I said, Neil Cavuto, an anchor on Fox News, in 1997, he began experiencing blindness and tingling.
Ooh.
He had already had Hodgkin lymphoma.
Oh,
and he was like, oh my God,
thing.
He was like, the lymphoma's back. Like he thought it was lymphoma. And he said when the doctors told him he had MS, the news didn't give him a sense of relief. In a way, it was worse. With MS, there is no cure. Like he said he had a cure for Hodgkin's.
He's been around forever, though.
Yeah. When country singer Clay Walker was diagnosed with MS in 1996, his prognosis was bleak. He said, I was told that I would be in a wheelchair in 4 years and dead in 8 years.
Wow.
But he said, but thanks to medication, he went into remission in 1998 and has remained healthy, albeit he has some symptoms. But he's been healthy since then.
Thank God.
Yeah. These disease-modifying drugs seem to be able to help a lot of people keep out of remission or at least keep their symptoms at bay. Alan Osmond was one of the members of the Osmond singing troupe. He first...
Like is in the Osmond Brothers?
Yeah.
Marie
First
Osmond?
began tripping inexplicably on stage in 1987. He was unsure what was
I thought
happening.
you meant like tripping like on acid.
No.
I was like, take it
Tripping
easy.
because of
The
MS.
Osmond's a woman.
He was eventually diagnosed with primary progressive MS. But he was determined not to be a victim. He said, I may have MS, but MS does not have me. Nearly 20 years later, in 2006, his son David was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS. And again, it is not...
It's genetic, but...
It's like there's some genetic component, but it's not like inheritance. It's just weird. David spreads the word about MS as a speaker for the National MS Society. And Jamie Lynn Sigler. She played the daughter of Tony Soprano.
Oh, yeah.
And she revealed to People magazine in January of 2016 that she had been diagnosed with MS at the age of 20, 15 years
That's
before
young.
she said she had it.
Yeah.
She says she revealed her illness to a few trusted colleagues early on, but generally kept it a secret because she was not ready to go public. She told people, I can't walk for a long period of time without resting. I cannot run. No superhero rules for me. She added that while her symptoms have gotten worse over the past decade, she had found after much experimentation an MS medication that has stabilized them.
Wow.
She's had children. She
lived a
still
life.
works and stuff. But everybody, I find it interesting. Like all of them are like diet, exercise, diet,
You got to keep
exercise.
moving. Any
You
of these
have to keep
neurologic
moving.
diseases, you got to keep moving as best
You have
can.
to keep your weight
Yeah.
in check to help the symptoms, but they're all very big on diet and exercise to help with that.
Well, mine is not as sexy as yours,
Oh,
Lara.
sorry.
All right. And it's probably not as thorough. FYI.
I don't know that was
All right. We're going to move on.
okay.
Muscular dystrophy.
Mhm.
I got my stuff at Mayo Clinic.
Okay.
And very, very well health.
Mm.
Muscular dystrophy. It's not as sexy as MS,
No.
okay? It's a group of diseases causing progressive weakness and loss of muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
Most common symptoms begin in childhood, and it is seen mostly in boys. So MS hits the women, MD hits the boys. There is no cure, but meds and therapy can help manage symptoms and slow down the disease. The main symptom is progressive muscle weakness. It's caused by your immune system mistakenly. I mean, all of
It's
these
the same, yeah.
fucking immune system. The immune system mistakenly attacking the brain and the nerves. There are certain genes involved in making proteins that protect muscle fibers. When one is defective, you have muscular dystrophy. It really went into these gene mutations. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Okay?
Genes mutate. You
They
get
mutate
muscular
and you're
dystrophy.
fucked. All right, the gene mutations are usually inherited. So you do get MD, it does pass down. But in some cases, you can spontaneously get it. Each form of MD is caused by a genetic mutation for that specific type of MD. Okay? So you have Duchenne's.
Oh.
That is a result from a genetic mutation that leads to a lack of dystrophin. It's a protein that helps strengthen muscle fibers and protect them from injury. Then you have myotonic MD. This is caused by an abnormal expansion of certain DNA sequences on one of the two different genes.
Oh.
Now you can see why I didn't go into
Yeah, that would be
Okay?
yeah.
You'd all be asleep. All right. So most people have 40 repeats of certain DNA codes in their genes. When you have myotonic MD, you have 4,000 repeats
Jesus.
in your gene. Right. So MD is not contagious, and it cannot be caused by an injury or an activity. You're never going to catch it from somebody. You're not going to get it inadvertently. It's already in your genes if you have it. It can occur in both sexes, in all ages, and all races. The most common variety, which is Duchenne's, usually occurs in young boys. People with a family history are at a greater risk of passing it on to their children. Symptoms of muscular dystrophy, Duchenne's specifically. Frequent falls, difficulty rising from lying or sitting position, trouble running or jumping, a wading gait or a waddling gait, walking on your toes. So Brian and I were walking the beach, and I saw a kid walking on their toes. I said, that's a symptom of something. I couldn't remember what it was. It is a symptom of muscular dystrophy. Large calf muscles, muscle pain and stiffness, learning disabilities, and delayed growth. The types of MD. Beecher's, which is similar to Duchenne's, but it is milder and you have a slower progressive. Symptoms will show in your teens or your early 20s. Myotonic, which is the inability to... So when I tell you who had it, you're going to see what I'm talking about. It is the inability to relax muscles following contractions. So if you're... you're like... Facial and neck muscles first affected. They have long, thin faces, drooping eyelids, and swan-like necks.
I have a swan like that.
One of the most famous people with muscular dystrophy, Gilbert Godfrey. And if you look at him and he's talking, he was always squinting because he couldn't relax his fucking face. And that all made sense when I read. I was like, and that's why he looked like that. Poor guy.
I know, you just thought he was doing that.
Right. You didn't know. He couldn't relax his face.
Yeah. That would be terrible.
Yes. Or like, your arms contract, you can't relax it. So you're just tight all the time. This goes by FSHD, facioscapulohumeral.
Oh,
you like
arms are fucking.
Muscle weakness begins in the face, hips, and shoulders. Shoulder blades stick out like wings when the arms are raised. What? Usually starts, so if your arms are here, they're going to go out.
Okay.
All right. Usually starts in teenage years, but it can begin in childhood or in as late as 50. I don't have it yet. You have congenital. It affects boys and girls, and it's apparent at birth and before the age of 2. Some progress slowly, while others rapidly. Like, it's all over the place.
Right.
You have limb girdle, which is hip and shoulder muscles first affected. These people might have difficulty lifting the front part of their foot, so they're going to stumble a lot because they can't walk right. They're going to trip easy. Onset begins in childhood or teenage years. You need to seek medical advice if you notice signs of muscle weakness, such as increased clumsiness and falling, or in you or your child. Maybe that's me because I fall all the fucking time. Complications. You're going to have trouble walking, trouble using your arms, shortening of the muscles of the tendons around the joints, breathing problems, curved spine, heart problems, swallowing problems. Anywhere where your muscles are, you're going to have difficulty. And your muscles are all over your body. Everything's muscular. They can diagnose it through an enzyme test, genetic testing, muscle biopsies, EKG, echoes, lung monitoring, and EEGs. Treatment. As we said before, there is no cure for MD. Is the Jimmy Fund muscular dystrophy? It started in... Somebody Google the Jimmy Fund. I think it's muscular dystrophy. So there's no cure for muscular...
Forget, Jack used to play Jimmy Fund baseball. Sam did too.
MD patients should be monitored throughout their lives. The team should have a neurologist with expertise in neuromuscular function. You should have physical medicine, rehab specialists, OT, and PT. You might need a pulmonologist also, and a cardiologist. You need to treat you need treatment options, medications. You absolutely, without a doubt, need physical therapy and occupational therapy. Yeah. Okay.
Jimmy Fund is cancer.
It's cancer. Damn it. There is a muscular dystrophy. Right?
I know there is. I know what you're talking about.
You need ongoing assessments of your walking, your swallowing, and your breathing because those are going to be greatly affected. You might need surgery for contractures or spinal curvatures, and you might need pacemakers because your heart muscles are shit.
Oh, jeez.
Your life expectancy for Duchenne's, it's 16 to the early 20s. For Becker's, you don't live long with this shit.
Oh my God.
Beecher's, it's 30s to 40s. Congenital, Emery-Dreifuss and myotonic, your life expectancy depends on how severe the symptoms
Oh
are.
my God.
Distal muscular dystrophy, FSHD, which is that word I couldn't pronounce, limbogirdle, OPMD, and tibial. They don't expect that's not going to affect your life expectancy. It's just going to affect your quality. It's going to affect your quality of life.
Okay.
So the only person I could come up with that had MD was Gilbert Godfrey. He died in his 60s. It does not say.
I was going to say, he lived a long time. He must have had that last
I think
one
he
or
was
something.
like 67. It doesn't say what kind he had, but I think he suffered a lot in the end. So that was us. Did you find it?
So it's the MDA, which is the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and they do the shamrocks. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember it was something big. I remember thinking of it as a kid.
Angel? What's that?
What?
Angel Fund?
I don't know. I'll Google it for you.
We're good with the Google. So these diseases are no joke. Obviously, with MS, you
ALS.
can maybe live a little better. MD, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, but it doesn't, I mean, that's, MS is going to be the sheath around your nerve fibers are gone.
All these neurologic diseases. I was just watching a thing on the news last night for Huntington's, which we talked about in previous episodes. It's just such a nasty. They were curling. I almost called you. Oh, we can learn how to curl to support Huntington's. Okay, I would love to do that. Yeah. And they have these special shoes, and they're moving the weights. And I want to learn how to curl.
Yeah, I do too.
So yes, if anybody's out there curling and they want us to help support Huntington's, give us a call. We'll do another episode and we'll do some curling with you, all right? I would love it.
I'm very
competitive. Yes, I know. She's going to work a mean stone.
If you're not serious, don't ask me to do it.
Here's what I want to know. Are you a stone or are you a sweep?
I don't know. Can't you alternate?
You could, but if you had to pick, you want a stone or you want a sweep? I got bad hips, so I'm sweeping.
I want a stone, yeah.
Yeah, you can stone, I'll sweep.
Okay.
I'm a mean sweeper.
I want to. You know how they go after with their arm out in front of them?
Smooth.
Yeah. I want to do that.
I love it.
And you kind of like lunge down the thing.
I love it. Uh-oh, reader email.
All right, we have an email. This is a very long episode.
I know, but we needed one after I just kind of dropped the ball last week. It's all my fault.
All right, Dan, Nicole, and Laura. I love your podcast. I've been listening for a couple months. I started with your first episode and just finished Burnout and What We Don't Learn in Nursing School. I'm doing my best to catch up. Good luck.
You got a lot to go, honey. Lots to go.
I've been a nurse for just over 6 years, 3 years on med-surg and 3 as an OR circulator. Oh. I love the OR and will never do anything else. It is such a refreshing environment.
Preach, sister, preach.
Yep. After the horror of med-surg, despite all of the colorful personalities. Firstly, I want to say I love listening to you talk about any topic. It feels like chatting with my healthcare friends. It's the odd mix of extreme, in parentheses, debilitating empathy, then laughing about something terrible that would make non-healthcare people think we're psychopaths. Secondly, I want to thank you especially for the 2 episodes I mentioned above. I agree with everything you said. Those are topics I wish everyone in healthcare, as well as those who are non-healthcare, could better understand. A lot of lay people don't know it, but it's something they should care about because at some point, they or their loved one will come into contact with a nurse. Hopefully the staff is not burned out past the point of caring, and it's in a hospital with appropriate RN patient ratios. Thank you again for your podcast. It honestly has become a way for me to decompress after a stressful day, and I learned something from each episode. Thank you for making me laugh. Keep it up, Lindsay. P.S. I have a teeny tiny critique. I have to turn my...
Well, we're not loud enough, right?
I have to turn my phone volume up full blast to hear you, and then sometimes you're still not loud enough for me to hear every nuance of your lovely accents. The CSTs I work with say I'm deaf, but I haven't noticed this issue with other podcasts I listen to. I hope this info helps in some way. Here's the problem. She's listening to the old episodes.
Yes, that's right.
We have new equipment now.
Right.
So once you catch up to this, Lindsay,
it'll get better.
You'll be like,
but we also are recording in a basement. So we don't have state of the art like the other podcasts, and we have tried everything. I literally am sitting on top of the microphone.
No, once we switch to this,
better. The older episodes are bad. I mean, it depends on where we were recording.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one St. Patrick's Day story.
Okay.
About a nurse, a fellow nurse. Nobody else will know who this person is but the person I'm speaking of. So I'm working a night shift, and it's St. Patrick's Day, and it's 7:00 at night. Mm-hmm. And one of the other night nurses comes in, and we're both assigned to finish up a plastics case. Mm-hmm. And at that particular night, we were having scrub issues. So one of the day nurses comes in and follows this night nurse. She had to go all the way downstairs to London, way down to get scrubs, gets the scrubs, comes in, sits in outside this plastics room for a little bit, and at 7:00 comes in. She's like, this is my room. And my friend was like, no, this is my room. And I'm in there kind of helping out. And she's like, I'm a plastics nurse. This is my room. We're like, look at this is where, the charge nurse assigned us. Maybe go talk to him and see what he says. Mm-hmm. And they storm off. And within 30 seconds, I realized what happened. Mm-hmm. I said, she's been out partying all day for St. Patrick's Day. She thinks it's 7:00 in the morning.
She went home, passed out.
She went home, woke up because, March, it can still be dark. Yeah. Got up thinking it was fucking 7:00 in the morning and came to work because we didn't see her the rest of the night. Because she must have gone to the desk and he must have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What are you doing?
And she realized it's 7:00 at night.
Oh my God.
This has years ago. I am still laughing about this every St. Patrick's Day. She pops into my head. I saw her a couple of days later. I'm like, did you have a good time? And she's like, I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about that. I couldn't stop fucking.
Well, that thing probably passed out like 2. Woke up at 6 like, shit, I gotta get to work.
All these new nurses are living down in Southie. That's where the big St. Patrick's Day parade is. So they were fucking hammered by the end of the night. And I just like, God bless. Because she had to still be drunk. Got up and was like, I gotta go to work. I feel like shit, but I'm going to do this. I said the best and worst feeling must have been when you went to the desk and was like, you're not on until tomorrow. Must have been like, oh my God, I can get 12 more hours of sleep because I feel like shit. I was still one of the funniest St. Patrick's Day stories I ever had. So God bless you, hon. You don't party too hard this St. Patrick's Day. Don't go to work when you shouldn't.
No, go to bed.
Love hearing from you guys. Remember, give us some real ideas, REEL, not REAL ideas.
I mean, either way.
Yeah. Of what you want to see us TikTok out, because we're pretty fucking funny, if you ask me. And have a lovely St. Patty's Day. Enjoy your corned beef.
Ugh.
Bye.
Like, subscribe, rate, and review the Scissors and Scrubs podcast on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Scissors and Scrubs. And email us any of your stories or thoughts to scissorsandscrubs@gmail.com.